We're both originally Australian, and in 2007 we both moved to Berlin. And in the end we decided that we would give it a go to do like a proper, like, you know, quite conventional fashion label. And so we talked to a few people and some designers that we knew, and they really like encouraged us to explore manufacturing in China. And I guess we're a little skeptical in the beginning because, I mean, for me personally, I was really like, you know, in the 90s, like these kind of like sweatshop scandals, and, you know, books like No Logo, like Naomi Klein's book, were like quite influential like when I was young. What we decided to do was to travel to Hong Kong for 2 months. And I think really early on we really decided that if we were going to do this kind of thing in China, that we wanted to be really involved in the process, to control the working conditions, to be confident about, you know, things like salaries, timing, all this kind of stuff. And we're like, actually, why don't we just start our own little factory? Like, a little bit naive to the situation, but
I think that worked in the favour, because otherwise we'd be like, if we knew how many problems would come across, we'd be like, oh, this is like impossible. But we were just like, yeah,
but we had
why not?
we had this idea, and we're like, you know, this can really work. We can, you know, the design and the manufacturing can become really integrated this way, as well as the kind of structural element to how we wanted things to function, blah blah blah. We also had these kind of ideals about how we imagine the kind of interpersonal working relationships, and I think we realized really quickly that we would have to re-evaluate that, because the ideas about working in China and the ideas we had about working were like really, really different. And so we had to work to kind of rethink our approach and to just learn more about how things operate in China. And to realize that it was not possible, nor was it a good idea to try and really change, to enforce our idea onto people. We had a slightly utopian idea about maybe like this kind of sewing commune. People had their own individual goals for how much money they wanted to make. A lot of people, you know, are living in Shenzhen, but their home and their family's elsewhere, so they're just here to work. They're not here to like hang out. And we want everyone to be involved, to feel like really valued. So it was like a team thing, and that we wanted to highlight that the production aspect was like a really important part of the project. It wasn't just this sort of, you know, thing on the side that, you know, you had to do to make fashion. Like, we wanted to really put it on this kind of like equal footing with like the design process. And so we kind of imagined, you know, this situation where everybody would kind of feel like not non-hierarchical, but like everybody felt like they were working
as a team
on the same level. But
this
actually,
is quite different to China's.
Yeah, it's quite different, and the thing we didn't realize that when people came in to work, like the first sort of stuff, they didn't think like that, and we're not used to working in this kind of environment or having this kind of approach. So it was a little bit alien to them, I think, about what we were doing. And I think even some people felt uncomfortable that, like, because they saw us as the boss, that we were so close. I think for us, because part of our whole kind of project that we do, you know, we do make it known that like we work in a particular situation, that like we are in China, but we're not following a typically, you know, made in China kind of system. That we're sort of bridging a little bit the space between production and consumption of clothing objects, and how people receive that, I don't really know. Like, I think a lot of people, yeah, I mean, we don't sort of shove it down people's throat or something.
It's
but
not like really like brand as sustainable brand. It's just kind of like, it's just part of it. It's not like
it's
the only thing.
It's part of the whole project, and I think it is quite unusual for fashion, because it is typically that production aspect is really swept aside, especially unless it's, you know, like you know, made in Italy. Beyond this kind of slogan, like, what does that actually mean? Like, how much do people actually know about the manufacturing process in Italy and the conditions in Italy and all these kind of things? And I guess we wanted to not put that stuff at the complete forefront of what we're doing, but we definitely wanted to put it into the into a different context. I don't know that it's necessarily that we're trying to connect people specifically, but I think by bridging this kind of gap, there is a kind of a change in proximity between like the production of something and the consumption of something. I think it is important to have, I don't know about an obligation, but to have some kind of understanding about the kind of cycles in place or whatever. I don't know. I think it is really difficult because, I mean, I don't know anything about how it works in Bangladesh, and it's really hard because going back to like in the 90s, this kind of idea about made in China, the kind of structures, blah blah blah. From this kind of outside Western perspective, it's really easy to see it in a certain way, but to come to China and to understand how these systems operate in context here, it's a lot more complex. It's not as flat as that. There are a lot more variables, and I think the thing to understand is that I guess it's hard to grasp is that there's a whole other system on the production side. There's a whole other social context happening that kind of is important, and it is important to be aware of that relationship. But talking from this side of things, there is this weird kind of thing that happens, say, in China through people making things for other countries. There's a weird kind of like education or something in that. There's this trickle down of particularly in China where information about the outside world is fairly controlled. But you get you begin to for example here, because we're doing a lot with Japan and they're kind of what they want is very specific to Japan, and so we're relaying this information to the staff here. They're in a way sort of kind of building it, more of an idea about what people in Japan think or what they like, and in a way that is there's this weird kind of invertent kind of thing happening where they're sort of learning more or getting some kind of other impression about, not through media or not through other, mediated forms, but on a weird kind of personal level about how people in Japan like to wear their shirts or something.